Okay, I guess we'll get started. We're waiting for a few more folks to join. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming today. Today's webinar is to address how automated encryption delivers improved privacy, protection, and compliance. Thank you for joining us. Bob, you want to go down to the next screen for us?
All right.
Wonderful. So today's webinar is sponsored by our partner, Abraham Consulting, and Angela will be on the attendee panel. We also will have Marcel Mott, who will be one of our speakers. He's our VP of Technology and Solutions. Also Jerome Bay, who's our Global Technology Director here at Kiteworks, and Bob Ertl, who's our Senior Director of Product Marketing. So thank you all. And our sponsoring partner today is Abraham Consulting, who is a minority-owned small business enterprise serving the markets across small, medium, and enterprise businesses globally, and the niche solutions, which are very compatible to Kiteworks, to security, networking, and storage, with consulting services ranging from managed to cloud and professional services. When the webinar concludes, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm Diana Torak, the channel manager for the East, Federal, and Canada markets here at Kiteworks, and or Angela. So with that, I'll turn it over to Bob to kick it off for us.
Thanks, Diana. So today what we're going to talk about is a technology that Kiteworks acquired from Tutemo. And in fact, two of the guests that we have on today, Marcel was one of the co-founders of that company, and he was the chief technology officer for that company before he joined us. So there's no better expert to have on our call. And then from the Kiteworks side, Jerome was one of the main people involved in the process of finding Tutemo and vetting the technology and the company and bringing them on board. So within the original Kiteworks team, there's no better expert as well. So we're well set here today to talk about this set of topics, which includes first of all, this Tutemo technology is of not having to have plugins, the advantages of having key exchange being something that's automatic and simple. The other thing is a secure email protection gateway. This is a first for Kiteworks. It's something that is a very powerful technology that Tutemo brings, and it's one of the main reasons that we did the acquisition. But along with that, one of the things that people really want to get in many organizations is end-to-end encryption. And Jerome and Marcel are going to talk about the advantages of that and how that can also help certain kinds of organizations in certain situations. And then finally, we're going to talk in all of the cases about the customer value that you get, how it's private, how it's protected, and all the compliance advantages that come with this technology. Now, you can buy this technology now, and Kiteworks, of course, is going to take some time to integrate the technology in with the rest of our platform. It's eventually going to become just a set of modules that are a piece of the existing Kiteworks platform, but you can certainly buy it today. We've got a whole roadmap set up for how that integration is going to happen, so there's no problem with getting the technology today and having a very smooth path forward from there. So Jerome is one of the main decision makers. Why don't you say a couple words about why Kiteworks acquired Tutemo?
Sure. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, so one of the goals in our M&A strategy is to accelerate the completeness of the Kiteworks vision. So when we initially looked at Tutemo, what we found was a Swiss company that was a dominant player for email encryption in the German, Swiss, and Austrian markets, and even had an international customer base, and they were well respected for their fantastic technology. So we had a closer look, and we discovered a very talented and dedicated team of professionals that clearly were at the top of their game. And it became clear to us that with joining forces, we could add another building blocks to the Kiteworks private content network. So covering and securing another channel of communication. And also, we would be able to allow Tutemo to extend its own reach significantly.
Thanks, Jerome. Now, how does this technology specifically fit into the overall Kiteworks vision?
Yeah, so our long-term vision for Kiteworks for the Kiteworks private content network is to secure all channels of communication and to unify these technologies and standards into one comprehensive centralized audit trail and one policy-driven management capability. So today, we cover all sorts of transactions ranging from simple file transfers, managed file transfer, web forms, file sharing, SFTP, API, to outbound email, which allows our customers to securely communicate with the outbound world using their protocol of choice. Now, with the addition of Totemo, we do not only cover outbound email, but we cover both ways, inbound and outbound, without the end user having to use a web interface or a specific email client or a plugin. As this is a pure gateway technology, it allows you to communicate with the email kind of choice, and then the policy-driven backend will take care of the rest. So what it does is it takes away all sorts of limitations and raises the security bar at the same time. So this, from a vision perspective, is a perfect addition to the Kiteworks platform.
So then, Jerome, why don't you take us through the different ways that these new features can help customers who already have secure email in the Kiteworks platform or other systems?
Sure. So here's the 5 main reasons. Our customers know about or know how the Kiteworks platform unifies logging and audit capabilities across all communication channels. So now we're able to extend that by adding both outbound and inbound secure email audit trails. As an example, you can now trace that file that came in through email to a specific user's account and was then stored in a shared folder, and maybe it was then moved to a server with managed file transfer, and then finally it was downloaded from a third party by SFTP. And you can trace that all with one platform. Now, before this addition, we were really depending on the end user to be able to trace the email communication. The end user had to use the right email client or web interface, and he had to click a button on the Kiteworks plugin. And now the logging and audit trail for all email communications just happens automatically.
And certainly people who aren't Kiteworks customers today, and I know we have a mix in the audience here, certain other products, I would assume there are other things that people have to click on, or I've even seen products where you have to write special things in the subject line too. So it's not just Kiteworks customers this applies to.
That's correct, yes. Okay, moving on. So this is really about eliminating the fact that users just make mistakes. You really want to put automation and policy in place to take away any security related decisions an end user would have to make, just to ensure that the right things happen and the appropriate security measures are applied. Essentially, you don't want the end user to have to remember he has to go to a web interface or click that plugin button on their Outlook before sending sensitive content over email. And with the Email Protection Gateway, they just send emails. They continue to work just like they did before, and the policy takes care of the rest. But also, on the IT side of things, you don't want to do manual certificate exchange. You don't want to cope with different encryption standards. What you want is a solution or a platform that is intelligent enough to understand what encryption standard to apply in what scenario and to manage the corresponding certificates and keys for you.
Interesting.
All right. So as we integrate Totemo into the Kiteworks platform, we will obviously unify the management backend so that admins will have a single management interface for users, controls, policies, as well as indicators of compromise across all channels of communication, including inbound and outbound email. Obviously, all of the above will be based upon the NIST cybersecurity framework, which is what Kiteworks does today. And this will provide our customers with unmatched visibility of their data streams, along with obviously the lowest possible management overhead and the lowest possible infrastructure cost. All right. So the key thing here is that, with the gateway, you can use any standard email client, whether that's Outlook, Macmail, Thunderbird, Gmail, or any email client or even API, full coverage for every email containing sensitive content is always ensured. As long as the client is using a standard protocol, it'll just work. And also, as the email protection gateway sits inside of the email streams, it creates audit logs for everything, as opposed to a solution that an end user has to explicitly trigger to become active and produce a log line. Okay, and then, last but not least, I spoke about this earlier. So for Kiteworks customers, this is now bidirectional. For people that are not Kiteworks customers on the call, there is a bidirectional solution now for email encryption. So the system has the intelligence to understand what encryption standard the external party is using, if any, and then communicate appropriately using that standard, no matter what you're using internally from an email encryption standard. And Marcel will speak to that a little bit more in detail later on. But on top of this, the platform gives you the ability to also intervene with malware scans or ATP scans for inbound and DLP scans for outbound emails. Similar to Kiteworks, any ICAP-capable scanning technology can be integrated. So if needed, the platform can decrypt and re-encrypt content and perform scanning in between.
Right. Well, thanks, Jerome. Now, if we try to make this a little bit more graphical and show the architecture a bit, maybe you could go through what Kiteworks looks like today.
Sure. So if we look at the secure email gateway from an external encryption perspective first, what you can see right now here is the existing Kiteworks solution for secure email. And we'll go over the email protection gateway in just a moment. And we'll see how that completes the offering and coexists with what Kiteworks does today. So at the top, we have the internal user with their Office 365 or Outlook client with the Kiteworks plugin, or they can even use the web interface to initiate that communication chain for a secure email thread. And then at the bottom, you would see the external recipient. So the first thing you notice here is that the internal user obviously needs to remember that he has to use one of the provided methods to initiate a secure email conversation. And the Kiteworks server will securely store that communication content and any files that are part of that. And it will then give the external party access to that communication by sending out a regular email that contains a link that points back to the Kiteworks web server interface. So this means that in this scenario, the external user doesn't really have a choice. He has to use the browser to access that email. Now, while that's a valid use case for most of our customers today, Marcel now is going to show how that new flow with the email protection gateway will work. So with that, over to Marcel.
Thank you, Jerome. And hi, everybody. So when bringing our email protection gateway into the flow, the things are changing completely. So we have, for example, the users, they can now use the email client of their choice, independent if it's an Outlook client, if it's a mobile client, whatever they're using today, they can use it together with the email protection gateway as well. And even better, they don't have to learn anything new. So there is no button, there is no nothing. They're just sending emails as before. Of course, the email client, if you look from top to bottom, is connected to the email server. And then the email server hands it over to the email protection gateway. And then the email protection gateway is taking care about the security of those emails. And instead of just providing one method of encryption, it's asking the recipient how he wants to receive the message. So this means even the recipient side has the choice to choose whatever they have already in place. So if you look at this at the whole picture, that means everybody is using what he was using before. Nobody has to take care about keys. Nobody has to take care about, do I need to encrypt this email or not? Because the centralized email protection gateway makes sure that your policies that you have defined before will take care about encryption and decryption of the sensitive information. And the good thing is that the email protection gateway covers each and every standard that is available today. So it's not only SMIME, TLS, and OpenPGP. It can also handle Microsoft information protection or RMS content automatically without the need to for everyone to interact with that. It's all happen automatically. Saying that, it's also providing the option to make sure that no threats, no malware is received in your environment. So everything is clean, everything is protected, and even more, by using SMIME signatures, you can make sure that your communication partners can verify at every time that the email is coming from you, and nobody had changed the content from your mail client to the mail client of the recipient by using digital signatures.
Thanks, Marcel. So that covers the email protection gateway. Now we talked about there are some other cases, and so Jerome, maybe you could talk a little bit about a customer who wants encryption from the sending client all the way to the receiving client, so that there's no server in the cloud that can read the files, no admins can see it, no vendors can see it, not even the Kiteworks ourselves. Governments can't see them. I guess, well, actually, this is probably more of a question to you, Marcel. What do you think about this end-to-end?
Yes, of course. This is a very important point when you moving your email environment, or if you are operating your email environment within a cloud. So that means that you give all the information, all the emails to the cloud provider, which is able to look into the content of your emails. And if you want to protect this content from third parties, then of course you should have something in your hand that makes it possible to encrypt the content, encrypt the emails and the attachments right from your email client. And every email client today provides encryption technology natively, which is called SMIME. So every email client is able to do SMIME, but in order to do SMIME, you usually have to deal with keys and certificates. And nobody really wants to deal with keys and certificates because you need to verify if it's valid or not valid, if it's revoked or not. And here, our EPG, our email protection gateway, is helping as well. So instead of having the user dealing with all this key material, the EPG, the email protection gateway, is doing it automatically in the back. So again, for your users, nothing changes. They can do end-to-end encryption. Nobody can look into the content right from their email client. And again, each and every email client is supported, and even the mobile clients can do SMIME encryption with the help of our email protection gateway, because this one manages all the keys, making sure that the key is available to the email clients whenever the email client needs those keys. And saying that, there's really no interruption. So nobody can look into the content of the emails, only the sender and the recipient of the email.
Interesting. Now, one thing about that, though, a lot of customers want to use a data loss prevention system, DLP, on emails before they leave their organization. How would that fit into that end-to-end encryption picture?
So that's a good point. So when I say nobody can look into the content, I really mean if you use end-to-end encryption, nobody can look into the content. So there is no way to usually do DLP. You can't do malware protection centrally, and that's why we have an option to re-encrypt, meaning decrypt emails and encrypt it again on the email protection gateway. This is done automatically. And we have, for a short period of time, the email in clear, not only the email, also the attachments. We can scan this, or we can hand it over to a DLP solution or another ATP solution, get it back and re-encrypt it. So you can make sure that you keep the control of your content. You can make sure that even end-to-end encrypted emails are scanned for viruses and other stuff.
Okay. So now, say that we use a public cloud email server for your internal email in the company. The ones at the bottom here, this is different than the prior ones we've looked at. The people at the bottom here are internal employees also. Can you protect that path as well?
Yes, you can. Of course you can, and you should, because usually the communication that you have internally is much more confidential as the things you're sending out. So, for this, we also have a solution. Relying on the S-MIME technology, we can make sure that your internal employees can use the same technology. And here I'm talking about real end-to-end encryption. Nobody can really look into the content, only sender and recipient. And again, all the key handling, the key management, and making sure that every email client, every mobile client has the right keys in order to do the encryption. And without any interaction of the end user, our email protection gateway can ensure that this is the case as well. And this is, I think, especially important when you have your email infrastructure handled by a cloud provider, because if you do that, really only you can look into the content. And if I say you, it's sender and recipient, and you as a company keep control over the keys that are needed to decrypt the content.
Okay. Now, Kiteworks has been around for quite some time. We've got 1,000 customers, something like that. And here's an example of a few of them. But one of the things I want to highlight here is not only did we get great people in technology from this acquisition of Totemo, but we also got a lot of great new customers. These are a few samples of them. Marcel, maybe you can talk a little bit about the strength of the customer base that you have. I know you're very, very strong throughout Germany and Europe, but also you have some really important ones in the US.
Yes, that's right. And especially the companies who are dealing with very confidential information or who are regulated they are using our technology, and most of them are using it company-wide. So, for example, a lot of financial services institutes, pharma industries, and you don't have a picture of them, the big German automotive companies are relying on our technology because they think it's important to keep confidential information confidential. And most of them are currently trying to move their email environment to a cloud provider. And there it's even more important to make sure that the cloud provider has no access to their data.
So you're talking big manufacturing companies. Kiteworks were traditionally worried a lot about protected health information, personally identifiable information, like what you deal with GDPR or CCPA. Somewhat we deal with intellectual property, but you're talking automotive manufacturers. It sounds like there's probably a lot of intellectual property there that they're worried about protecting.
Yes, especially if you're talking about those industries like automotive, but all the others as well. So they are more scared about their IP than about regulations. Of course, we have regulations, and especially in Europe, with GDPR, everybody is forced to encrypt personal information. And most of the people don't know that even an email address is personal information. So, you have to encrypt a lot of stuff in order to be compliant with all those regulations. But as I said, most industries are also care about their intellectual property.
Okay. Well, Jerome, Marcel, that was really informative. Now we're going to go on to a new phase here. We're going to see what questions came in. And I just want to remind everybody, for those who have questions and haven't put them in yet, if you click the ... more at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that there's a way that you can enter questions there. Just put them in the chat or the questions, and we'll get back to you quickly as we can here, but got a couple of them that already came in while we were talking. Okay, so this, I guess this is from Marcel. Is this in the new Kiteworks virtual appliance server? And do I need to install it?
So I have great news. Since yesterday, to be honest, we have the first version of EPG running on the Kiteworks node. This means, yes, it's already available on Kiteworks virtual appliance. And all you have to do is to enable the EPG role on your Kiteworks server. That's it. And then, of course, for the IT team, you need to integrate it into your SMTP stream. But this is something which is done in, I would say, 30 minutes.
Wow. So somebody who's an existing customer, do they have that in the version they have now, or how would they get it? Do they need to talk to their Kiteworks sales rep or somebody to get it available to them?
Of course, there is a license involved, so they need to have a license, and of course, there will be some costs of to have this role, but from the implementation standpoint, all they have to do is enable that role whenever they have the license.
Okay. Okay, great. So then if it's if somebody who's not a Kiteworks customer today, they can just talk to our sales rep and get an evaluation. I guess start with a demo, right? And then they can get an evaluation of it. Okay.
Yes, that's possible. That's easy to do, yeah.
Okay.
Just reach out to the sales rep and they know how to deal with those requests. There's also a trial available. So if someone wants to do a POC or POV, they can do, of course.
Okay. So I think this is Marcel as well. So how can we get our business users to follow the security procedures? They hate training and they hate computers mostly.
So I hate training as well, but not computers. But I have to say, they don't have to do training because they use their email clients. They're sending emails as before, and they don't have to care about it. They just send the emails out, and the email protection gateway makes sure that confidential information that needs to be encrypted will be encrypted automatically.
Okay. And then does it require changing MX records to point to this new Kiteworks gateway instead of our existing email gateway?
The answer is no. There is no reason to do it. You can use the infrastructure as before. All you have to make sure is that you put the EPG, the email protection gateway, into the SMTP stream. And there are many options how to do that, depending on the current environment. But our people, our ISEs, for example, are there. They exactly know how to do it, and the pros and cons of every system architecture there. Okay.
So there are a lot of options. They just need to talk to us to find out what to use.
Yeah, what is best for the infrastructure of the customer? Yeah.
Okay. Our legal department uses PGP, but so lots of trouble. Every day we have help desk tickets for keys lost and mistakes. Can they use this?
They should use this because if you want to get rid of all those troubles, you should use a solution that is doing everything automatically. So users should not deal with keys. They should not be aware of keys at all. So they just should use an email client, their choice, and then that's it. And this is exactly what we are doing. But especially if you're using PGP and you have established communication channels, we can do more. We can migrate those keys into our EPG and make sure that the other side, the communication partners, can still use the same channel. Meaning, if they want to go on using PGP, our EPG can use the keys and can make sure that your users don't have to deal with that anymore.
Okay. So this looks like an existing customer. How many licenses do we need if we get the gateway? It will have all the email.
you want me to take that, Bob?
Yeah, I think that's a Jerome.
Sure. So the license is required. The model is the same as it is for Kiteworks. It is user-based subscription, so per user per year. And the amount of licenses that you need is the amount of internal users that are actually going to be in that email stream, and that will encrypt with the outside world. As simple as that.
Okay. And this is kind of a related one. Do Kiteworks customers get the gateway, or does it cost more?
I think that's answered with the previous question, but yes. So there's there's a notion to this. So today you can purchase this independently of Kiteworks, and you can purchase it as a bundle. So we do offer a bundle promotion today.
Okay. One last question, and I guess this is a Marcel one. How does it prevent phishing attacks?
I tried to explain it before. So when we are using certificates or S-MIME encryption, for example, the beauty of this is that it comes with the option to also digitally sign the content, which means that you can make sure, and every email client will understand that the email is coming from the sender, and nobody changed the content of the email. So the attachment is still the same. Nobody changed the body of your email or even the subject. And this is done through a digital signature. And for the end user, it means you get a little seal on your email. And of course, if there's a seal and the seal is not broken, you can verify that the email is coming from actually your company. And if you don't have a seal, or if the seal is broken, that means that this email is probably phishing, because it's not coming from your company. And this helps a lot because it's a seal. I mean, if you look at a usual letter and you put the seal on it, and if you see it's broken, or if there's no seal at all, it's open, then you have the same thing. So it's more easier for users to verify that there's something wrong with the email if there's no seal.
Okay. And that's the last question we had. So Jerome, Marcel, thank you so much for being on the presentation. I think this will appear as a recording on the website. If anybody wants to see it, they'll be able to, if you want to pass it around to other people in your organization, they'll be able to see it as well. Angela, thanks for hosting us. Diana, thanks for hosting us. And with that, we'll sign off.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.